everyone. Can you hear me? Gavel, gavel. So I am, if nothing else, the daughter of military. So when I say 7 o'clock, I actually mean 7 o'clock. It's how I was raised. So thank you. Thank you for coming to this data center town hall. I will say that this is going to be a very, very loud and focused data center town hall, just in case anyone was wondering. A couple of housekeeping things. If you need to go to the restroom, if you go out the door and up the ramp, the restrooms are to the right. To the left. If we need to evacuate the room for any reason, you can go out both doors and obviously go to the right. I do want to say I have 3 gentlemen with me who will be with me later on to answer questions and such. Joe Kroboth is a deputy county administrator. Leo Rogers is the county attorney, and Alton Eccles is from Loudoun Water. This is how this room's we're gonna do this tonight. So when you came in, you got a piece of paper and a pen if you wanted it. That is not so you can write your questions and send them up the aisle, because I don't like that. I think that never works. People feel like that their questions are not actually getting answered or getting asked, so I don't do that. That piece of paper is because I'm going to do a presentation that should last somewhere between 30 and 40 minutes. It won't go too long, but while I'm talking, I don't stop the presentation. So if you want to, if you have a question, I want you to be able to remember your question. So that is just so you can remember your question. So it's not so you can hand the paper up front, so don't worry about that. Today, what we're going to talk about basically is the good, the bad, the challenges, the successes, the unvarnished facts about data centers. I will talk about data centers mostly in Loudoun. I have a couple comments that may not be totally Loudoun specific, but mostly it's about the data centers in Loudoun and how we got to where we got today. When we finish, we will take questions, and I will talk about the questions at that time. I will ask that if you would give me the grace of letting me do the whole presentation before we get to the questions, and there is no cheering nor jeering, so I don't want you to jeer me, but you also can't cheer me, if you don't mind. I wanted to start by just saying this. I know that there's some things I'm going to say that a lot of people know already, but I also know that I have heard some comments or received comments that lets me know that not everyone may know everything, and so there are some things I will say that many of you may know already. So please excuse that as I'm doing that. One of the things I'm going to start with is the most basic question of what is a data center? Because I think most people know, but actually I'm not sure that everyone knows. So basically a data center building is just a big building. It could be anything. It could be a Walmart. They go up easy, they come down easy. They're just buildings. The thing about a data center is what's in a data center that makes it a data center. If you've never been in a data center, I would tell you that when you walk into a data center, you just see rows and rows and rows and rows, or what's called stacks and stacks and stacks of computer servers. Those are servers, and these are the stacks. In Loudoun, we have 2 types of data centers. We have enterprise data centers, and we have what's called co-location data centers. An enterprise data center is a data center like a Visa or an Amazon or a Microsoft. An enterprise data center is a data center that serves only one customer. And so everything in this data center, if it's a Visa data center, only serves Visa. So when people say to me, can't we turn off the data centers, which is a question I get pretty often, or can't you turn them off every other day? What you're actually saying is, can you turn off the internet? Because data centers are at their base. Data center servers are the cloud. Data center servers are, in the simplest terms, that's the internet. That's what you're looking at right there is the internet. So you're actually saying, can you turn off the internet? So if you say, can you turn off the enterprise data center, you're saying, can you turn off all of the functions of Visa, all of the transactions of Visa that may go through that Visa data center. The other type of data centers we have are called co-location data centers, and that is each one of these stacks would be a different company. So that stack might be Netflix, and that stack might be I don't know, Costco. And this server right here may be your business or your at-home business. And so again, if someone says, can you turn it off? You're saying, can you turn off all the things that Netflix is doing that's going through that data center? Or more importantly, can you turn off my business's ability to compute? Because this is the internet. So that's what data centers are. Now in Loudoun County, now any data center can do AI, any. But when we talk about AI data centers, we're talking about mostly AI training data centers, the data center that trains itself. In Loudoun, we actually don't have AI training data centers. So we have enterprise data centers, we have co-location data centers, but we don't have AI training data centers in Loudoun County. So then the real question is, how did we get here? How did we become the data center capital of the world, which is a term I actually do not like very much, but that's what we get called. Well, we have to go all the way back to 1996 to talk about how we got here. Because in 1996, there was a company called, and many of you know this, AOL, that moved to Loudoun County. They moved to Loudoun County for a couple of reasons. One, it was near the federal government. It was near an international airport. It was near a water source. And there's lots and lots of land. Because if you've been here as long as I have, there was nothing out here in Loudoun County. And so data centers moved here because it was just a good place for them and an easy place for them to be. Shortly after AOL moved here, a company called MCI WorldCom moved here. And in fact, Governor Gilmore gave MCI WorldCom $200 million to move somewhere in Virginia. And the place that they landed was here in Loudoun County. And then a lot of federal .com started coming to Loudoun as well. And so we had AOL, MCI WorldCom, and people were starting to call Loudoun the Silicon Valley of the East and all those types of things. And so if you lived in Loudoun at the time, it was a really big deal to have AOL here and have MCI WorldCom. People were really very, very happy about it. So for people who are under 30 years old, I'm going to have you hear a sound that most of you have never heard in your life. Because when you called into AOL, you called into a server. When you made a dial up, you did a dial up and you were dialing into an AOL, you were dialing into the internet. And it sounded like this. Look at that. And then inevitably somebody would scream, hang up the phone, because if you didn't, you would knock somebody else off the server. So that was the sound you had. And you were calling into the internet way back then. Well, AOL actually reached its peak in 2000, and in 2000 they had 30 million customers. It was a big deal to have AOL here. At one point, though, the .com bubble burst. And AOL, MCI WorldCom, and all those other .coms actually started not doing as well. When AOL and MCI WorldCom, Loudoun campuses closed down, something very important happened. They closed the campuses, but they left the fiber in the ground. And that's how Loudoun became a county that we started building with fiber, because at that time there was nothing in Loudoun. So we started building homes, we started building restaurants, we started building schools, we started building commercial, and in Loudoun we were putting fiber everywhere in the ground. Loudoun became the most internet connected place on earth, literally. And then that made it easier for data centers to start coming because we already have fiber in the ground. In 2000, probably the most important, impactful thing that has led us to where we are today happened in 2000. And I want to remember that in 2000, no one really knew what data centers were going to be or how big they were going to come and what they were. In 2000, can you go to the next one, please? In 2000, the then zoning administrator made a determination that data centers will most similarly resemble the land that used the impact office parks. And so in other words, the zoning determinator in 2000 said, wherever you have an office park zoned, you can put a data center. And he didn't know, or she didn't know, what data centers were. And to make matters worse, they said, you can put it there by right. By right means that parcel or that development never comes to a board to get approved. So if it's a by right residential community, we never see that application, or the board never sees that application. If it's a by right data center, the board never saw that application. So dozens and dozens and dozens of sites all over Loudoun County in 2000 were deemed by right data centers, and many of them were what was called at that time keynote office spaces. Keynote offices were often in the middle of neighborhoods. And so we had, all the way back to 2000, someone say, put a data center in a neighborhood because it's like an office, not knowing what data centers were. That was that was probably the largest thing that has impacted us today, because they were all by right, and so they never came to boards. Go to the next one, please. Go to the next, please. I do want to say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Go back one. I do want to say something really important. Go back one. This is really important. If you will notice, you don't see data centers in rural Loudoun County, and that is because there is no by right zoning in rural Loudoun County for industrial or office space. So when people say don't put data centers in western Loudoun County, that has never happened. That will never happen, because even by right, there's no zoning for that out there. So for everyone who was understandably concerned about data centers in western Loudoun County, that's just not happening. And it was never going to happen, even by right, because there's just nothing out, there's no zoning for that. So there's two things I'll discuss a lot tonight for data centers. The first one is the financials of data centers and what they do for our county financially, and that's an important discussion. But before that, I want to say that I am very aware, and I believe my colleagues are very aware, that there is a difference between the financials of data centers and what they do for our county versus your quality of life living with data centers. Those are two different things. Quality of life living with data centers, depending on where you live, can be very, very hard. What it looks like, what it sounds like, is it impacting the air? All those things, those are quality of life issues. And again, that's why we don't like by right zoning, because oftentimes, well, never in by right zoning do we decide where they go. And so data centers have absolutely impacted people's quality of life in ways that we wish they hadn't. And I don't know anyone who wouldn't say that, admit that, know that, hopefully internalize that it's a financial issue, but it's also a quality of life issue. The financial issue looks like this, though. For every building in Loudoun County, any building in Loudoun County receives county services, because county services is just infrastructure, the road, fire and rescue, those types of things. For every $1 we spend in county services in Loudoun County on data centers, we get $26 back in tax revenue. Our top 10 taxpayers, commercial taxpayers in Loudoun County, are all data centers. And I know that there's a belief that they don't give jobs, but the truth is the minimum, we think is probably more, but I did put the minimum number of jobs in Loudoun County from data centers and the kind of cottage industry around data centers, at minimum 12,000 jobs. And I don't mean construction jobs, I mean jobs post-construction. It's about 12,000 jobs. Go to the next slide, please. So how does that then impact our finances in Loudoun County? Well, and I know you all know this, there are two main types of taxes in Loudoun County, tax rates. There's a tax rate on real property, so your house, land, real property taxes, and there's a tax rate on personal property, so your car. Data center servers, the servers in the computer equipment in the data centers is what we get the vast majority of our tax money from, and that's personal property tax rate. But let's first talk about real property. So in 2017, Loudoun County's real property taxes, which you paid on your house that you sit in, your house that your land sits on, was $1.12.5 in 2007. Almost every year, that number has dropped. And today that number is 80.5 cents. So we went from $1.12.5 in 2017 to 80.5 cents today in your tax rate. So then the logical question is asked, well, if my tax rate's gone down that much, why is my tax bill not smaller? Which is a very good question. Well, some tax bills are smaller, but the ones that are not, it's because your house value has gone up. The value of your house is worth more, so you may not have seen a big difference in your tax bill. If, in fact, it wasn't for the tax rate going down, your taxes would be significantly more money. The other type of revenue we have is personal property taxes, general personal property taxes. And as you can see, for years and years, the general personal property tax, whether it was your car, which is personal property, or data center servers, were all the same thing for years, until this year. So what happened different this year? This year, Loudoun County's board, as of the ask, made a request, put legislation into the General Assembly to ask if we could separate the data centers tax paid on data center servers from your car tax. We live in a deal and rule state. There is nothing that we can do without asking the General Assembly to do it first. So it was Loudoun County that went to the General Assembly and said, can we have the data centers pay more on their personal property than car taxes? The General Assembly, to our surprise, said yes. And so what the servers pay on their personal property is $4.15. What you pay in your car tax is $3.09. And we're going to try to lower that next year more to $2.95. That is because, am I going out?
No, for the people in the other room, they can't hear you, so you probably.
Can I do both? Can I do both? Because I don't. Okay, that is because of data centers that we have that difference. That could be that much lower because we have data centers. Go to the next one, please. This is just the same thing in a graph. So these are all the counties in what's called the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments area. And this is the highest paid tax right here is Montgomery County, Maryland. All these taxes right here, this is Fairfax County, Arlington, Prince William, Fauquier, and Prince George's County. This is Loudoun County's tax rate. That's our real property tax rate. We pay a lower real property tax rate by a good little amount because of data centers. And again, I totally get that this is not about your quality of life. And those are two different things. But the tax rates itself have gone down significantly because of data centers. Next slide, please. This good man is a man named Robert Wirtz. Mr. Wirtz is the Commissioner of Revenue. He is the one that assesses your property. He assesses your real property value. He assesses your personal property value, your cars, all those things. He's your tax assessor, basically. When asked whether or not data centers impact someone's land value if you live next to a data center, Mr. Wirtz said this: my office has not seen any evidence of a reduction in value of a residential property based on proximity to data centers. So before we go to the next slide, I want to say something here. The reason local government officials do not like by right zoning is because we cannot control how our community is built. So if you have a community of by right zoning and half of the community, you have a community that is residential by right zoning, and you have data center by right zoning, that makes for a community that's not planned very well. Let me go back and say again, this would be, for most people, just the worst situation. I don't think there's anyone that doesn't understand that. Lord knows I understand that. But if you move into a by right housing community, you unfortunately might get something near you, like a data center, that is also by right. And those two things just never are going to work together. I'm going to show you a picture of what is probably the closest houses to data centers, possibly in the country, and unfortunately is here in our county. Next slide. This is a by right community. This community in 2014 did not come to a legislative body to be voted on. It was voted on without ever coming to a board. I'm sorry, not voted on. It was approved in what's called an administrative process. Basically, it's paperwork. This community was built by right. This data center was built by right. This is why we don't like by right development. This is an Amazon data center. I will say that two things. One, even given this proximity of data centers to homes, and even as much as this would be a hard area to live in and something that would not be quality of life pleasant, the truth is, even these homes right here in the past 10 years have increased in value by 72%. Living near data centers is not impacting home value, although it is impacting quality of life. I will also say that my colleague, Supervisor Laura Tacroni, is talking to Amazon and asking them to put some type of buffering between the homes and the data center, and they have agreed to put 200 trees and other things up so that this impact is not so great. But this is what happens when you have by right development. Next slide, please. This is the Regency, and you hear about the Regency a lot. This is Waxpool Data Center Homes. This is the neighborhood we kept hearing about the tonal noise that they kept hearing from the data center. Again, quality of life would be negatively impacted. The Regency has increased their home value by 58% in the last 10 years. Go to the next one, please. This is Ashby Ponds. This is Gloucester Parkway. Ashby Ponds is a senior living community. It's a beautiful community with lovely, lovely residents. And even after the data centers were built, Ashby Ponds was still building condominiums. They were still building condominiums even after these were built. It was hard to keep up with the need in Ashby Ponds. The home values in Ashby Ponds have increased by 82% in the last 10 years. Home values sit in one place. Quality of life is another issue, and those two things are buttoned up against each other. And we absolutely realize that. Next question. Next slide, please. So remember when I said that in Loudoun, well, in Virginia, localities can only do what the General Assembly lets us do. We're a dealing real estate. The reason I don't talk about energy a lot is because we do not have the authority legally from the General Assembly to say no to data centers based on power availability. So based on power, we have no authority to say no. 3 people, Mr. Karan Sains from the Sterling District, Mr. Mike Turner from the Ashburn District, and myself, all separately without even talking to one another, wrote legislation for the General Assembly asking them, please let us have the authority to say no to data centers based on power. Mr. Turner's language just happened to be a little better than Mr. Sains and I's, so we acquiesced our language under his language, and we sent it to the General Assembly and said, can we have the authority to say no based on power? The 2 people that carried that were Kanan Srinivasan, state senator, and J.J. Singh, state delegate, both in Loudoun. That legislation didn't even get out of committee. Did not even get out of committee. So the small moment of politics, a political thing that I would say is this. When the General Assembly talks to me about undergrounding power lines, my response is, let us say no based on power, and maybe we won't have discussions about undergrounding power lines. But the General Assembly will not give us permission. We will go back next year and ask again, and we'll go back again the year after that and ask again. But right now, we don't have the legal authority to say no on power. Next slide, please. Alton is going to talk just a little bit about water because he's an expert in water. I will say he's going to talk about the Loudoun's reclaimed water line. In other words, how many of our data centers have a closed-loop system, because the belief is data centers use a lot of water. The fact is data centers, all 253 of our data centers, and I understand that's a really high number. I hear myself say it, use 10% of our potable water, because we have a reclaim system. And so, Mr. Eccles, do you mind spending just a little bit talking about how this system works?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me okay? My name is Alton Eccles, and I'm currently the Deputy General Manager for Loudoun Water here in the county. We were formed by the Board of Supervisors in 1959 to be an independent authority for the county, providing with a core mission of providing water and wastewater services and doing that in a sustainable way. And given a lot of what the chair has talked about this evening, this has been a very growth-driven community for many decades. And so what has really become part of Loudoun Water's DNA is really long-range planning and vision for growth in the need for water and wastewater services in the county, but doing that in a very sustainable way. And so back in the early 2000s, we set forward on two main programs I wanted to mention briefly. One being our Potomac Water Supply Program. We developed an additional intake in the Potomac River that would be backed by off-Potomac storage. So we're converting a retired rock quarry here in the county to a water storage reservoir so that during times of stress, we're able to completely cease our withdrawal in the Potomac River and withdraw that banked water from the quarry to help supply the potable water needs in the county. And that includes the 88,000 connections that serve about 350,000 people, and also the data centers that use potable water. And now what's displayed here on the slide is we also in the early 2000s set forward developing a reclaimed water system that's completely independent of the county's potable water system. And so it's shown here on the map. It's about a 10 square mile area around our Broad Run water reclamation facility, which basically takes the wastewater from the system and highly treats that wastewater to where it can be redistributed for uses like industrial cooling among the data centers. And so really what that all translates to is, while we have a few over 200 data centers in the county now, about 40% of those are cooled using the potable water, which again I mentioned is sustainably backed by that quarry water banking system. And then about 20% of those data centers are cooled using water from this reclaimed water system. And the remainder, the other 40% of data centers in the county, are cooled using air, so really more dependent on electricity for cooling. So really just wanted to kind of round out this slide by talking about the long-term vision and the focus on sustainability. As an independent authority in the county, we're just looking to, strike the right balance with water supply here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Next slide, please. All right. So I love my job. The hardest part of my job is saying unpopular truths. Sometimes you got to say things that are hard to say, but absolutely true. So I'm going to give you all 4 hard unpopular truths. The first one is the hardest of the unpopular truths. Next slide, please. For a very long time in Loudoun County, there was a very large push against building homes in this county. And I'm going to take you through one of the more recent applications that became a data center. This is the Hyde Park application. As you see, this site right here, it's a by right data center site. They do not have to come to us to build a data center. It is surrounded by homes. This is the exact wrong place for a data center. The applicant didn't come to us to build a data center. They came to us to build houses. And the community pushed back vociferously against housings. So much so that we deferred this application not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 5 times, talking to the community and trying to reach some deal with them on housing. We just kept pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back, and they kept pushing and pushing. One of my worst days was January 5th, 2023, when the applicant called me and said, forget it, I'm going to build a data center. And I pretty much begged them not to. And what they said was, building residential homes, we will get about $1 million an acre. Building a data center, we'll get about $4 million an acre. And so right in the middle of homes is going to be a data center. And didn't have to be that. And so the hard truth is that I've been here since 1993. My very first meeting, Town Hall, was a meeting about attainable housing. And the first thing that man said to me is, if we have attainable housing in Loudoun County, I want to have a urine test and a background check of everyone who lives there. And I was like, oh my gosh. So there was a significant pushback on housing for a long time. And some of those sites, not all of them, but some of those sites that could have been housing later became data centers. And that is the hardest truth I will say today. That's just a factual statement. Next, please. Other hard truth. Moratoriums are not legal in Loudoun County. I hear all the time, just do a moratorium, just stop them, just don't build another data center. There is nobody in the county that wishes we could stop and do a moratorium on Loudoun County more than I do. No one. No one. We can't do that legally. Last year, Delegate Irene Shin patroned the bill to ask could there be 6 months of a moratorium, like short-term moratoriums in localities based on getting water, based on getting electricity, on all these things. Once again, let me say, it's a Dillon rule state. We can't do what the state doesn't say we can do. This didn't even get out the General Assembly. I mean, it didn't even get out of committee. It didn't even get out of committee. So when people say, just do a moratorium, it's not going to happen. And if people put it up on their Facebook page and say it on their sites, they're not being honest. And these are hard truths that I really don't want to have to say, to be honest. But the truth is, moratoriums in Virginia are not legal. We will ask next year for to have moratoriums, just like we're asked to have power, to have authority around power. And we will ask, and we will ask, and we will ask. But right now, we can't just say no. It's not legal to just say no. The other thing is that there was some efforts to just say no over one state over in West Virginia and have moratoriums. A couple of months ago, the West Virginia General Assembly took all land use, siting, and power from all localities for data centers. So in other words, the West Virginia General Assembly is citing data centers in localities and giving the locality only 30% of the money. So not just here, but this is starting to happen around the country. I do see places saying we're going to put a moratorium on them. Those are not going to last because states and the federal government are starting to say, sorry, but we're going to do this. And you know how I know the federal government's going to start to say it? This is how I know. Next slide, please. This is an executive order from President Biden saying that AI data centers are a national security asset. His words were, the United States must not be surpassed in its support for the development, commercialization, and operation of clean energy technologies at home or abroad, and the rapid build-out of AI infrastructures offer another vital opportunity to accelerate and deploy these energy technologies. President Biden wrote an executive order for saying that AI data centers were a national security asset. The next person that wrote an executive order would be President Donald Trump. His was a lot more Donald Trump sounding, and that he wrote, my administration has inaugurated a golden age for American manufacturing and technology dominance. We will pursue bold, large-scale industrial plans to vault the United States further into the lead on critical manufacturing process and technologies that are essential to national security, economic prosperity, and scientific leadership. These plans include artificial intelligence, AI data centers, and infrastructure that powers them, including high voltage transmission lines and other equipment. It will be a priority for my administration to facilitate the rapid and efficient build out of this infrastructure by easing federal regulations and burdens. When we get called, and we get called all the time from other counties about what to do about data centers in their counties, and we get called because we were the canary in the coal mine, what we say to people is this: You can't just say no because your state government or your federal government's going to take over. But what you should do is what we didn't do well is know where to cite them. Don't make anything by right. Know what the water usage is. Know what the electrical usage is. Put design standards in place. Put setbacks in place. Put screening in place. We tell other places this all the time, because if they just start saying no, the states and the feds are going to come in and say yes. That would be the biggest nightmare. Next slide, please. This is the fourth hard truth. These are recent things. I'm choosing recent things because these things have happened since I've been here. This was 3 weeks ago. We often will have the media is telling the truth when they say they approved a data center or they approved a special exception. That's a true statement, but it's not the whole story. So this is the SDC Ashburn data center that asked for a special exception and received it about 3 weeks ago, and this is why. If you look at this whole area right there, that whole yellow area was a by right data center that could be built. And by the way, this is in an industrial area, so it's in a correct location. SDC came to us because they said they wanted to add what's called FAR, floor area ratio, and floor area ratio was that low triangle, and that low triangle. And they said, if you let us add these things, we will give you this: 20 acres of natural open space, use of recycled concrete, a 4-tier generator, and soil restoration, and that gorgeous design standard. They were going to build this anyway. They could build this anyway by right. And there would have been nothing, we couldn't have asked for any of this. And they said, give us this, and we'll give you this. There are times when a special exception makes common sense. So when the paper says they did a special exception and they get a data center, they're right, but it's just never the whole story. And so I wanted to show you my fourth hard truth. Go to the next slide, please. So the question is, why is this happening? Who's using all this data? What's going on and who's doing this? And the answer is all of us. There's a study that recently said that the average household has between 17 and 25 connected devices in your house. I didn't believe that, and so my husband and I went around and started counting things in our house. We counted 25. I have 2 cell phones, a laptop, and an e-reader. My husband has a cell phone and 2 laptops. My son has a cell phone and a laptop. If you have a Ring doorbell, that's connected. If you can control your thermostat, you can turn on your lights. If you ever say, Alexa, what's the weather? All those things are connected. Your refrigerator sometimes you're connected. Your washing machines can be connected. Your ovens can be connected. In 2011, 35% of people in America had cell phones. Today, 78% of America own smartphones. Over 90% subscribe to broadband in their homes. That's what the Pew Research said. The reason this is still happening, and let me be real clear, in Loudoun County, we've done our fair share of data centers. We've done our fair share of data centers in Loudoun County. We have. But they're going to come other places because people have these things in their hands and people use data. 41% of Americans say they use the internet almost consistently, and only 16% say they use it about once a day. So what are we doing on the internet? What are we using them for? Well, I never even realized how much people did until I started putting this together. And I thought, my God, we do everything. We do everything. I mean, just this alone, just emailing alone, let alone a text. Under the word social media, I don't know how many social media apps there are. Once I turned 60, I only use Facebook. I don't know what everybody else uses it, but I think there's other things out there besides Facebook. So there's a lot of social media apps out there. When's the last time people started carrying cash? People don't even carry cash anymore. You go to the store, where is it? Where is online shopping? Amazon's huge for a reason. It's huge for a reason. Military defense is enormous. I would never get in the driverless car, but somebody gets in the driverless car. I think it's insane to get in the driverless car. Every streaming service, and there are dozens and dozens and dozens of streaming services. I don't think I realized how connected my life was and how much I used until I started doing this. And when I did, I was like, oh my gosh, my digital footprint is way bigger than and I'm not a very tech person, but my digital footprint was way bigger than I thought it was. I only have 2 more slides to go. Yeah, 2 more slides to go. I thought this slide was kind of funny. Go to the next slide, please. This is all the fun stuff that AI does. Remember her? Remember her? At Christmas, everybody had this thing right here. I saw so many candy cane pictures at Christmas. This is the new big thing, that one right there. If you can't read this, and for those of you who know, you will know why this is funny. Sarah Connor's watching you use AI for everything. If you know who Sarah Connor is, that's actually funny. But that's all AI. And so I have seen people who have been understandably upset with me about data centers or upset about data centers while doing 2 or 3 things of this per week. That's my cousin Wendy. That's my cousin Wendy. She does those things every week. So the last slide I will give you is this. If I am Joe Loudoun or Jane Loudoun, and I'm driving around our county, and I keep seeing all these things just go up and up and up, my response would be, what is going on with that Board of Supervisors? What's happening? And I would be pretty upset with us if I was Joan and Jane Citizen, because we haven't stopped and talked about by right development that's been in place since 2019. We haven't stopped and talked about what we could and could not do from the General Assembly. We haven't had, and if I have an apology, and I do, I should have done this 2 years ago. We haven't had these conversations, and so people who are just in Loudoun County, it's very easy to think that we don't care at all. We're just putting data centers everywhere because we can. That's absolutely not true. And truthfully, we started this in about 1998. This is all the regulations times we've tried to slow down the data center industry. It is a very hard industry to pull back, or in a very hard industry to get a hand on and get a hand over. In 2019, we finished the comprehensive plan. It had not been done for almost 20 years. It took us 4 years to do it because it hadn't been done. And almost, in fact, to be honest, it was a campaign promise that I made to get a new comp plan done. When I came into office in 16, we got it done by 19. It took a long time to do it. You can't do zoning until you do a comp plan. So we have been, all these things, this line going straight up is things like putting in enhanced buffering and screening requirements, using specific standards, additional action to make data centers a special exception process. These are all the things we've done to try to just slow down the data center industry, because we do hear you. We do know how fast these have gone up. We do know how it's impacting your quality of life. We live here. We see the power lines. I talk to people. This is not lost on us. And I know that if you're just in the county, I can absolutely see how you feel like y'all ain't paying no attention to us at all. But we are, and we do hear you, and we're putting these things in place, and we have been putting these things in place to try to slow down. A lot of it was what was put in place. This dog caught this car, and we've been trying to figure it out ever since, and to slow it down by doing more and more and more regulations. I will finally say this. Loudoun County, because I get this question all the time, has never ever given any cash incentives for data centers to come to Loudoun County. Not ever. We've never done that. We don't do that. We've never given 1 inch of Loudoun County land for data centers to be built on. We've never done that. We don't do that. The state gives a tax break, but they give that tax break for data centers to come to Virginia, anywhere in Virginia. And because of all of our internet and fiber, it's easy to come to Loudoun. But Loudoun County, doesn't give cash incentives. We don't. And we don't give our land. We don't. And we are putting regulations in place. And we haven't done enough, fast enough, and Lord knows we haven't communicated enough. And I'm sorry about that. Okay. Okay, we're going to do questions now, and this is how questions are going to go. If you signed up and you said that you lived in Loudoun, you're going to speak first because it's a Loudoun County Data Center Town Hall. You will have, excuse me, you will have 1 minute to speak. You can make a comment or ask a question. These gentlemen over here and I will try to answer your questions, and we will try to answer them very succinctly to get as many people in as possible. If we cannot answer your question, I'm going to ask you to walk over and give your contact information to staff so that we can get a hold of you later on with an answer to your question if we can't answer it right now. I'm also going to really ask for this grace and for this respect, that there is no cheering and there is no jeering for two reasons. One, it takes more time and we want to get questions through. And two, cheering and jeering can get out of control really fast. We always say you can jazz hands in here, but no cheering and no jeering. So we're going to go now to questions, and I really appreciate you being here, especially since you could be home watching soccer right now. And I want to thank the people who are watching on Facebook, and thank the people who are doing, because we're streaming this Facebook Live. And now we're going to ask Justin and, Justin and Matt, if you would call questions. And what we'll do, we'll call your names like 3 people in advance so you can start working your way out the pews. And the 4 of us will try to answer the questions the best we can. So who are the first 3 names?
First up.
You're not, are you on? Nope, you're not on. You're still not on. There you go.
Okay. First up, we have John McWilliams, who'll be followed by Paul Sarayo, who'll be followed by Mark Bayless.
Good evening, sir.
Hey, good evening. Madam Chair, members of the board and county staff and residents of Loudoun County. My name is John McWilliams. I'm a resident of Belmont Country Club. While I also serve as the chair of the Belmont Safety Committee, I'm speaking this evening solely as a resident and homeowner. The views I express are my own. I also bring more than 4 decades of experience in military aerospace quality management, where my responsibility is evaluating risk, verifying compliance, protecting the people affected by complex operations. Like many residents, I recognize the economic importance of data centers to Loudoun County. My concern is not whether they exist, but how they are developed responsibly alongside established communities. I have 24 seconds. Let me see. From both professional experience and my perspective as a homeowner, I believe decisions of this magnitude should be supported by independent monitoring, measurable performance standards, and transparent public reporting. 10 seconds. Accordingly, I respectfully ask the county to require independent long-term monitoring of noise, water, environmental impacts, and results to the available public. My time is done. If I can provide the rest of this to you.
Please do. Please do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So let me try to respond to some of those, and again, I'm going to try to respond as quickly as I can to all this. The state, through the DEQ, does monitoring of air. So we do have monitoring of air. We have monitoring of all those things that you discussed. I am concerned, would be the word I'll use, especially about noise. I don't believe our monitoring system on noise is adequate enough because I don't believe our monitoring system on noise is adequate enough. I will say, and I will defend, that we have a very transparent system. There is never a time that we have, well, I mean, if it's by right, it never comes to the board. But if we're doing a special exception, it's usually, a data center is usually discussed over the course of months and months and months on this board, and all those meetings are publicly advertised, and they go out before we do them, and more often than not we have speakers about those. But I will read the rest of your comments, and I do hear you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Next speakers.
Next up, we have Paul Sarayo, followed by Mark Bayless, followed by Donnie Walker.
Good evening, sir.
Chair Randall, I'm Paul Serrano. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm a 14-year resident of Ashburn District, and I've come to give my personal and direct observations about data centers. I live across the street from a data center, specifically the data bank facility on Ashburn Village Boulevard. When the weather is good, I'll open my bedroom windows from which I can see it directly. It is silent, it is clean, it is a good neighbor. I could go on and talk about some of the other data centers nearby, Cloud HQ, of which I can say the only sound I've ever heard from that direction comes from airplanes flying in and out of Dulles Airport every 3 minutes. I will say I've followed this issue. I'm sorry not to see Supervisor Turner. He has a broad view of these public policy issues, but I think I've seen him just as susceptible as anybody to repeating unfounded tales about people with complaints about noise. I could go on about the shoddy journalism.
Sir.
Yes, ma'am.
But you can't go on because your time is up. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, but you can give, please. And when I say give your comments, I commit, I will read your comments. And I don't think we have
I'll
shoddy
forward them.
journalism. All right, thank you,
time.
sir. Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Hi, my name is Mark Bayless. I'm from Purcellville, Virginia, actually near Lincoln. And one, I'd like to thank you for your presentation. It's very informing and actually very factual. I've been 15 years, I've been a technical advisor to the FCC. I'm the co-chair of the AI committee, 5G. And Loudoun County, its importance that it plays in the role of the United States and our dependency on communications can't be understated. I mean, this county is basically the connectivity for the U.S. and the world. And I've only got 26 seconds left, but one of the things I would like to do, you were talking about power, is I think it'd be critical if there was some way that you could utilize as to the data center operations. Not all data centers are the same. Bitcoin operations do no real benefit for anyone. AI, other types of data centers do benefit for communications, connecting to the internet and other types of operations. So I think that the power shouldn't be done by first person who signs up for capacity, but for the value it brings to the counties. Okay, thank you.
Do I need to, am I turn this off and use this? Oh, turn this off and just use this, and they can hear me? Okay, I'm sorry. Excuse me just 1 second. Hi, Donnie. Mr. Walker.
I'm
Ready
Donnie
for you.
Walker. I was actually here in '96, and we had a lot of stuff going for us.
We still have a lot of stuff going for us. Give him 5 more seconds.
Yeah. I'm pleased to see the facts on the buy right, and if data centers were special exceptions where they should have been from day one, none of us would be here tonight. We'd probably be down to 50. I want to make sure that the spillover from the getting tough on data centers and the special exceptions doesn't affect the rest of the business community, because we're already feeling it. When we go in for our specs, we're already kind of needing to follow the engineered plans that the data centers have had the money to set the precedent for. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Up next, we have Rachel Sisk, followed by Nini Spivey, and followed by Stephen Jolly.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Sisk, and I am proud to say that I was born and raised in Loudoun County and have lived here all my life. I was raised in Ashburn Farm and now own property in Ashburn Village. And just recently, I joined and am now working for a data center company. I am truly proof that data center companies are working to help improve the lives of Loudoun County residents. I would also like to say, Chair Randall, I really appreciated your presentation for being straight on the facts. I myself, before working for a data center company, did fall to misinformation, and I think we need to have more of these open, honest communications. I can say from personal experience, working for this company, we want to support local community and build sustainably and do the best we can for the communities we are serving.
Thank you. And I agree. I should have done this before. Thank you.
Next up, we have Nini Spivey, followed by Stephen Jolly, followed by Lindsay McCree.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm speaking as a resident of Ashburn and a nonprofit leader as the CEO of the Northern Virginia Science Center Foundation, nonprofit that's building the new Science Center now under construction in Loudoun. My husband and I moved here from Fairfax, and we do love it. We wanted to live near the new Science Center, but we also wanted the quality of life and lower cost of living in Loudoun. And we started off pretty well because we're saving over 30 cents on the dollar in property taxes, thousands of dollars a year. That really does improve our quality of life. And we certainly love the great roads and the libraries, the parks, the rec centers. It's been amazing. And so much of what we enjoy here is because of data centers and the extraordinary revenue that it's brought to the county. There's a lot we wouldn't have here without this industry, including a new science center that's opening next year. Like many nonprofits in Loudoun, I know there's some other leaders here tonight, our science center has benefited extraordinarily from the county and private funding, and which is really a lot more than what we saw in Fairfax. Building the new science center for the region is really expensive, over $100 million, and certainly the extraordinary funding from the county at $19 million and several million more from companies in this industry and adjacent to it are making it happen. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Next, we have Stephen Jolly, followed by Lindsay McCree, followed by Don Slayman.
Good evening, sir.
Evening, Chair Randall. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Steve Jolly. I've lived in Loudoun County for the last almost 8 years. Navy veteran, Eagle Scout, member of the Nova Foundation Board who supports the Nova Community College students. And I've worked for Amazon Web Services for the last 8 years. The data center industry has given me the opportunity to build a life in this incredible county, where my neighbors, coworkers, and their families have access to excellent schools, strong career opportunities, and a high quality of life. I manage an organization of more than 250 local employees, many of whom are able to live in Loudoun because of the opportunities for growth that this sector provides. Those opportunities are real for Loudoun residents. We have meaningful partnerships with Loudoun County Public Schools, Northern Virginia Community College, and George Mason University, and I've seen firsthand how much investment is going into building educational and career pipelines for local students and workers. While some people say data centers do not create jobs, I appreciate you mentioning that, but they actually do. The jobs are real, career paths are real, and the people whose livelihoods depends on this industry are real. I also understand that there are legitimate concerns around data centers. Those concerns deserve to be heard. However, we do work daily to upgrade technology and equipment, and more importantly, work with our neighbors.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Next, we have Lindsay McCree, followed by Don Slayman, followed by Ken Kukovich.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. I thought I had 3 minutes, so I'm going to go real fast. My name is Lindsay, and I've been a resident of Loudoun for over 20 years, and I want it on record once again that I am strongly opposed to the further development and expansion of data centers in this county. Data centers and the required substations and power lines have been crammed into every nook and cranny. It is devastating to drive down Waxpool Road or Loudoun County Parkway, as the area has been completely destroyed by unchecked industrial development. Now, unsurprisingly, studies are coming out that highlight the health risks associated with living near data centers. And what do data centers require? More high voltage power lines and electrical substations, which studies have shown health risks associated with living near those since the 1970s. I'm going to skip over all the studies that I have listed here, but the bottom of the line is there are many examples of how companies repeatedly prioritize profits over people's health and safety. When it comes to data centers, Ashburn has become the proverbial canary in a coal mine. There are no other area in the entire world that has as many data centers as Ashburn. But just because we have 250 does not mean we need 251. We have to put a stop to this now for the sake of our health and our environment. It's time to pause, take a good long look in the mirror and ask yourselves, who do you represent? The data centers and all of their industry reps who are here today, or the Loudoun County residents who live here every day? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And ma'am, let me say again, we have some power to pause. Where'd she go? We have some power to pause. We have no power to do a moratorium. And you know, what I should have said before, and I didn't during the presentation, and I will say it now, is if I have an ask, and I actually do, is that next General Assembly session, please join us down in Richmond and ask so we can ask.
I never get a response, including the boards.
Well, ask so we can ask the General Assembly for the legal authority to pause. So thank you, though. Good evening, Mr. Sleeman.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. My name is Don Sleeman. I represent the IBW, but my family, my parents built a home in Leggard Farm Road in 1973, and we've maintained and still operate that home to this day. I'm here to speak on behalf of all the great jobs this industry has created. The dividend we have as a nation, because our currency being the reserve currency of the world, is 1/5 of what the dividend this country gets because of the data center industry in this nation. And what it does to Loudoun County is untold. But what I want to speak about is the 14 million hours we used to work 8 years ago. My local union works 28 million hours last year. We're going to work north of 33 million hours. We have raised, we went from 9,000 members to 17,000 in that time period, and brought those people into the upper middle class, not just the middle class. And it is just such a great opportunity. And when we speak about quality of life, I'd like to realize the quality of careers, the quality of jobs, the quality of employment, the quality of long-term training and generational wealth. And this industry has mitigated all the problems we've heard tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Next speakers, please.
Next we have Ken Kukovich, followed by Trip Hook, followed by Tony Howard.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you. My name is Ken Kukovich. I'm representing myself as a homeowner in the Eco Village of Loudoun County. I will give you all these points. It's hard to get it down to 1 minute, but because of the existing and future data centers in our county, high voltage power lines are now planned through our western Loudoun County, and our community is impacted by the proposed Valley North massive transmission lines. Can't talk about data centers without the transmission lines, particularly in western Loudoun. Proposed line would be as high as 175 feet, approximately story of a 12-story building. I live in the Eco Village of Loudoun County, which is an ecological community with 100 acres of common lands and privately owned lots. With our homes, we provide stewardship to our common lands. Our community has devoted time and resources to building and living sustainably with limited impact on the power grid. So we have solar panels like me, LED services, but it's highly ironic that Valley Link has selected a transmission route that would destroy one of the few, if possibly only, environmental communities in its path. We have easements from Northern Virginia Conservation Trust.
Sir? Yeah. So for two things. One, if you give your comments to my staff, I will. But I also would say this. I know that there was a meeting about this last week. We had a meeting here, so I couldn't go. But I have talked to my colleague, Mr. Kirshner, who was at that meeting. And I know that there is quite a bit of discussion that is being held about possible power line routes. And I talked to Mr. Kirshner about that. He and I are on the same page about what's happening with the Valley North transmission lines. And you have my word on this. We will fight that route that is being discussed today. I will continue to talk to Mr. Kirshner. We will continue to talk to staff, and that is something that is absolutely on our radar. But please give the rest of your comments to my staff. Thank you, sir.
Next up, we have Trip Hook, followed by Tony Howard, followed by Bill Yunda.
Good evening.
Great job, Chair Randall. I appreciate your perspective tonight and all the misinformation. I think it was a great thing you did today. My name's Trip Hook, and I was born in Leesburg 68 years and 3 days ago. So glad to be here again and still standing. So I'm going to do a quick commercial for my son-in-law. He just dropped a new song, Fireflies, on I-65 on Spotify. So use that streaming service, and he also used AI for the musicians, so it's something to check out. Data centers are mission critical. We all fly, we all bank, we all do things. You pointed it out just beautifully there, so that's great. But one thing that happened at Stone Springs Hospital a couple years ago, my dad had a stroke. We brought him in there. The neurologist from George Washington Hospital was able to intervene, and he was able to recover from that stroke by use of video monitors, which is powered by data centers. So it is life critical too. Transmission lines are going to be built. There's Teslas, there's all the other electrical devices, data centers. We may as well, if the transmission lines are coming through here, we may as well benefit and build data centers to collect the revenue. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have Tony Howard, followed by Bill Yunda, followed by Gyan Gupta.
Good evening, Mr. Howard.
Madam Chair, Tony Howard, President and CEO of the Loudoun County Chamber of Commerce. I want to start by thanking you for organizing tonight's discussion. This is an important conversation that we're having here in Loudoun County, so you deserve credit for organizing, and I appreciate the emphasis on so many facts, particularly on quality of life. And if you believe, as I do, and I think others do, the most important element in a family's quality of life is a good job. So if you take a look at recent studies by PricewaterhouseCoopers and Magnum Economics, you can see that the economic impact of this industry on Virginia is just astounding. A $40 billion industry, 112,000 jobs in Virginia. Virginians owe their jobs to the data center industry here in Loudoun County. That number's around 25 if you include construction jobs, which I do. Those are real jobs. Ask any construction worker, that is true. They're helping to create new jobs in new industries, from cybersecurity to IT, engineering, operations, you name it. These are jobs that are 2 to 3 times the average wage. And so I want to credit the data center industry for creating great jobs here in our Commonwealth and thank them for all they do from an economic as well as a quality of life perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, sir.
Madam Chair, first of all, fantastic presentation. I appreciate all the great information you shared. My name is Bill Junda. I'm a Loudoun resident. I'm a voter. I'm a taxpayer. I support data centers. But usually I'm in front of you representing NAIOP. Today I'm representing my own firm. I'm a business owner that lives here in Loudoun County. We employ about 110 people in the civil engineering design space. We've been working in the data center industry for 20 plus years. We worked on the Visa data center, one of the ones you highlighted back in the mid 2000s. We also do have a pretty big federal contracting practice. And as you can imagine, it was going well, and then DOGE happened last year, and our federal business got cut in half. And we survived and still grew because of our data center work that we do, not just here in Loudoun, but everywhere. So not only did we continue to grow, we hired more engineers, more surveyors, more landscape architects, more highly paid people, and it wouldn't have been possible without the data center industry.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next one.
Next up, we have Gyan Gupta, followed by Patricia Logue, followed by Pete Hotow. Sorry.
Good evening.
Hi, I'm Gyan Gupta. Good evening, everyone. Yes, no one can doubt that, yes, we need data centers, and that's a fact, it's going to come. But the request here is to just please plan it. It's not that we have now vibrant, we say one Loudoun. Next year or following year, all the roads going to one Loudoun will be welcomed by data centers. Ashburn, Russell Park, big to huge. George Washington, another huge. Of course, Loudoun Parkway is a park for data centers. So any road that is going towards one Loudoun, do we have where we can have guests, visitors, or anyone visiting one Loudoun say, oh, this is very vibrant one Loudoun. Oh, the entrance is this way. Can we have country clubs with the entrance like that? No. So make sure that at least one Loudoun stays that way. Madam, you mentioned about we don't have a control. By right was discontinued last year. Now we have control.
Yes.
And second, another thing we did not mention about quality of life. The Loudoun website mentions about decline in public school enrollments in next 7 years to the least. Sir? It's going to decline to the lowest. Sir? What are we doing for quality of life?
Sir?
Please.
Sir, okay, so thank you. One, with due respect, I did mention about quality of life. And can you go back one slide, Ms. Courtney? Do you mind going back one slide? You are correct, sir. In 2025, we discontinued all by right data centers. And so, and the misnomer is that there are hundreds of data centers in the pipeline by right. That's just not true. I think when the day that we took that vote, was it 22? I think it was 22. Was it 22, Joe? I think it was 22 in the pipeline, and we don't even know if those will be built. And so I couldn't agree with you more. Data centers are about siting where they belong. And you know, because of by right, they were not cited well, and I'm not going to sit here and defend that because it's not. It's not. But that has changed, and I do not believe that you're going to see the data center go what places they shouldn't go because they're no longer by right.
My request is whenever I get a guest,
thank you.
For one Loudoun, it should be vibrant.
Thank you. Next people, please.
Next up, we have Patricia Logue, followed by Pete. I'll just say Pete from Cloud HQ, followed by Riley Knuckle.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Patricia Logue. I'm here from Luckett's, also in Western Loudoun, and you asked the question, how did this affect you? Well, in our community, Team Fishel tore up Route 15 for over a year. And for a road that needs improvements, it delayed those improvements significantly. It's also, the issue is also taking the air out of a lot of county departments like planning and zoning, who's had to delay our small area plan because they've been, quite honestly, busy with data center issues. Tax revenues are up, that's great, but affordability, because of the value of land going up, is down. And that's affecting everyone across the county. It means that attainable housing isn't within reach. Please don't make this issue political. Please take it off the ballot. Please work, like you said you're working with Supervisor Kirshner, with state and federal officials. This is of concern to all of us. It should never be politicized.
I understand. Ma'am, can I ask you one question?
Sure.
When you say take it off the ballot, what does that mean?
It means don't make it an issue with your opponents.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Don't make it an issue with your opponents.
I understand. I understand. Thank you, ma'am.
Next, we have Pete from Cloud HQ, followed by Riley Knuckle, followed by Nushin Farahari.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chair. Thank you for this opportunity. Appreciate your presentation. Hello, my name is Pete Holm, and I live in Waterford. I work for Cloud HQ, a local data center developer, and I've been working on commercial real estate projects in Loudoun since 2006. In 2016, I started working in the data center industry, and I wish I had started sooner. Before that, I grew up in Fairfax County and lived there until 2016 when I moved to Loudoun. I love living here and am now raising my family here. My 3 kids go to Loudoun County schools, and my family and I are involved in many community events and enjoy being part of the community and giving back. I appreciate the discussion on quality of life. And during the 2000s, I wonder if all that by right office was actually office, and the discussion we would be having here is about traffic. That would be, the traffic would be worse than anything else in quality of life discussion. So I appreciate data centers, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We have Riley Knuckle, followed by Nushin Farahari, followed by Mike Rogers.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, ma'am. My name is Riley Knuckle. I'm here representing myself. I'm a resident of Loudoun County for all of 2 years. I'll try to keep my comments brief because I'm sure that there's more than 100 Team USA fans besides just myself to go see the game later. So I just wanted to say I'm a 7-year active duty Air Force veteran, still continue to serve in the Guard, and the data center industry as a whole has given me the opportunity to start essentially as a transitioning veteran when I left active duty and put down roots with my family in a location that I hope to be able to raise my family in for the long term. And being a developer in the industry, obviously there's a lot of challenges, a lot of responsibilities that we have, but I'd like to say that there's a lot of misinformation pertaining to the community benefits that we specifically and intentionally bring to the table here. And I'd just like to say that I've seen firsthand with my company, just the type, and others as well, whether that's STEM education, invest in the projects that we specifically do, opportunities for apprenticeships in the construction side. It's more than an arm's length financial transaction, and we hold that responsibility very greatly and near and dear. So thank you, ma'am.
And thank you for your military service, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Of Nasheen Farahari, followed by Mike Rogers, followed by Brian Burton.
Good evening, ma'am.
Okay. Hello, good evening. My name is Nushin Farahani. I'm a homeowner in Belmont, and the Belmont 225-year-old historic corridor is at risk. It includes the African American burial grounds for the enslaved, the original manor house, the Belmont Chapel ruins, and the historic graves of the St. Davids. This is a nearly 300 years of history. Once it is lost, it cannot be restored. It is imperative that growth does not come at the expense of our historic resources or the communities that surround them. The proximity of data centers is a concern. Belmont is already experiencing the impacts of one completed data center building. Many residents did not understand how closely development would affect our homes or views, our environment, and our quality of life. We invite each of you to walk Belmont with us, see the historic community firsthand, and understand what is at stake. Please help preserve Belmont's history so future generations can experience the same Loudoun County that we are all fortunate to call home. And that is incredibly important. I ask this board, can the historic corridor be protected?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I know exactly the corridor you're talking about. Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Mike Rogers, followed by Brian Burton, followed by Zach Mattia.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you. First off, I ride my bike all over Loudoun County. Loudoun County is known as sort of a gravel destination. The gravel roads are amazing. I really mean this. Yesterday, I was part of a ride that did 50 and 30-mile bike rides all the way throughout Loudoun County. And I've done 100-mile bike rides throughout Loudoun County. Our fear is these data centers will eclipse and take away these kind of resources that are so beautiful and amazing. So please protect them.
I understand. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Brian Burton, followed by Zach Mattia, followed by Will Stewart.
Brian Burton. Brian Burton, going once, going twice. Okay, Zach Mattia and Will Stewart. Good evening, Mr. Mattia.
Good evening. Good afternoon. My name is Zach Mattia, and I live in Leesburg, and I'd like to thank you for hosting this town hall. I believe in an understated cause of why so many people feel overpowered by data centers is the money the industry throws towards politicians. Let's take my representatives, for example. The mayor of my town, Kelly Burke, has taken over $15,000 from Chuck Kuhn and his associates, a local real estate tycoon who lobbies the government to zone his land holdings for data center development, and $20,000 from centibillionaire Mike Bloomberg. My Leesburg board rep, Christian Umstadt, has taken $5,000 from Chuck Kuhn and $1,000 from Compass Creek Data Centers, who just built a data center less than a mile from my house. My state national reps, Marty Martinez, Russet Perry, Suhas Subramaniam, Tim Kaine, Mark Warner, have all taken thousands from data center interests as well. My question is simple. How can I expect my representative to stand up for my interests when they are taking thousands from the industry to not do that?
So I actually do want to respond. First of all, thank you. And I think that that question deserves a response. I do not believe that it is necessary to believe that anyone who takes money from wherever, they're going to yield to that organization, company, person. I would love to have a much longer conversation about campaign finance reform and how ridiculous it is to need to raise the amount of money you have to raise to run for office. I think a whole long discussion about campaign finance reform is very, very much needed. But I also know that that I don't always agree. I'll use Ms. Umstead as an example. I rarely agree with Ms. Umstead's positions on data centers, and I rarely agree with how she reaches her positions on data centers. But I don't question her service, and I don't question her intentions. I think that she believes, whether I agree with her or not, I think she believes she's doing the right thing for her constituents. And so I am careful. I try not to question someone's intentions, even if I don't agree with their conclusions. And I believe that this discussion is a really much longer discussion about campaign finance reform and how we need to get this much required money out of out of political office, period. But thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Chair Randall. The predominant driver of current data center explosion in Virginia is actually AI inferencing, where trained models can answer billions of questions a day. As a former AI modeler and strategic planner who recently served 3 years at the National Artificial Intelligence Institute, I now recognize the growing number of very, very serious risks, and I'll cover some of them quickly. MIT, Carnegie Mellon, and Oxford studies have found that utilization of AI led to users' cognitive decline as they relied more and more upon the computer thinking for them. Job losses are very real and accelerating. Anthropic released a study that showed that AI can replace 80 to 95% of the jobs in management, business, finance, computer, math, legal, architecture, life and social sciences, art and media, and engineering. What's left? Mostly labor positions, a great many of which tend towards lowering the pay scale, eviscerating the middle class. I go on and on, but I ask that you initiate a CMAP and change the zoning to remove data centers from allowable use as soon as possible.
We've already done that.
Okay.
That was in 2025. There's actually a book called The Anxious Generation, and it's about just that. It's about social media and how it's impacting young people especially. And so, I am often concerned about the cognitive impacts of AI and social media and those types of things. I've been speaking on that issue for quite a while now. But thank you.
Okay.
Next up, we have Bashav Raghavan, followed by Jenny Marza, followed by Dan Vargas.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I prepared a long remark here, but given my limited time, so I'm going to submit this to the officials, but go ad hoc. So a lot of people here said that they benefit from the data centers. Good for you. And at least they're paying you and not everybody in the Loudoun County, right? So the problem with the data centers is that they do need to exist and they do serve a purpose. I want to ask you all one question.
So you got to talk to me.
Sorry. I do want to ask a question. Every house may or may not have a cell phone, but they do have electricity, and the electricity comes from a nuclear power plant. Are we ready to take a nuclear waste in our backyard because we use the nuclear power plant for power? No. The data center serves a purpose, but it has a place, not in the middle of a neighborhood.
I agree.
And there are a lot of misconceptions here that were stated, and I don't have time to cover everything. And I have been involved in this since 24, and I have been a vocal opponent of the Golden to Mars project. And that name rings a bell, definitely, right? And we had a meeting not too long ago. You said by right was discontinued on 25. 26, the data center was approved.
Sir?
How do we explain that?
Well,
thanks for my time.
Okay, so by right was discontinued in 25. And I had a whole discussion of what a data center approval for a special exception might look like, and that's why I did that, because there are times that can you go back 2 slides, Courtney, or wherever that slide was? Go back. Go back. There we go. This is by right. This was not by right. So what was approved, and I used this because it was, I don't want to talk about something that happened, I don't know, 15 years ago. It's important to talk about what's happened recently. This is by right. This was not by right. And so there are times when something says, they put the data center, that's true, but that's not the entire story. And so, but yes, but thank you. And please give your rest of your comments over.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Jenny Marza, and this is my hometown. I'm speaking to you as a small business owner, a Belmont resident, and a mom. My family moved to Sterling in 1990. After college, I came back home to work for the family business my dad started in '97 in our Sterling townhouse basement. I came back because Loudoun felt like the perfect place to work, raise a family, and build a life after I came back from college. Now I'm not so sure. I am CEO of that business now and have grown the company to more than 13 employees, but the county has not made the growth easy, and I don't feel very supported. I've tried for years to purchase a warehouse and office space to grow, but we simply cannot compete with the enormous money behind big data and the developers. We are forced to lease, absorb massive rate increases up to 60%, and operate under constraints that the industry has done. I keep hearing about, by right, but what rights do small businesses have and what protections are being done for us? And can we create an independent authority for public health like we have with the water to help, which would be great.
Thank you. Thank you. You are correct. Data centers will price other things out. That is true. No.
Yeah.
Your last statement, say that last statement again, an independent authority for public health?
Like
separate and apart from the health department?
Well, do we have a committee that advises the Board of Supervisors on public health matters that are an independent authority? We do.
There's an independent authority. We have the health department, which is a state/county, and then we have a health commission, but it is appointed. You're saying an authority, so you're saying, well, let's, if you don't mind, because we can't do it, because when you say authorities actually have the right to bond and things like that. So I don't know if that's what you mean, but can you? Yeah, I'm happy to give you a call.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Next up, we have Dan Vargas, followed by Keith Crane, followed by Ashley Warmelling.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Dan Vargas, and I lead the digital infrastructure practice for Gordon. I'm proud to live in the Willisford community here with my wife and 2 kids, and most of my work as a land development engineer is focused on data centers here in Loudoun County. I hear a lot of different concerns from a lot of my neighbors about data centers, but the general idea seems to boil down to data centers are here to make a quick buck, make profit, and move on. My experience with my clients could not be further from that notion. I think it's easy to see a data center building pop out of the ground and not give any thought to the many hours of design and consideration that goes into that, or paperwork, as you said in your presentation. Buildings under construction now are way more efficient, way more sustainable than those built 2 years ago. Every design meeting we have revolves around how to do it better, how to use less or even no water, how to use less cooling for even more computing, how to orient buildings and mechanical equipment to direct the sound inwards. Running out of time here, I'll just say that when I go home at night to my wife and kids, I rest easy knowing that I'm part of a data center industry that is doing what they can to be a proper steward for the future of Loudoun County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Keith Crane, followed by Ashley Warmelling, followed by Brian Carson.
I'm sorry, who was the first one?
Keith Crane.
Keith, are you here, sir? No? Okay, I think the next one was Ashley.
Okay, Ashley Warmelling.
Okay. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Thank you so much for making time to answer our questions this evening. I'm a Lovettsville resident, and 9 days ago, I received notice that Valley Link intended to develop not only the Valley North project, but to do so in my backyard. I've worked so hard to learn over the last 9 days about this project, and I found that none of the proposed segments in Loudoun for Valley Link North are within an existing right-of-way. Why is it that nobody in Virginia wants to force these utilities to seriously explore undergrounding? And is the by right that you mentioned applicable to transmission lines? The root cause of this, of course, is related to tonight, data centers. Dominion and Valley Link like to talk a lot about grid reliability, but the main reason reliability is in jeopardy is because of these data centers. Their own analysis by PJM shows that data centers account for an almost 80% increase in demand in their territory over the next 20 years. We have trusted you with our vote to be our voice. We look forward to watching what you do in taking action as best you can in the weeks and months ahead. Thank you.
I understand. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Next, we have Brian Carson, followed by Vanessa Braganza, followed by Colleen Gillis.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Dr. Brian Carson. I work in Leesburg and a resident of Lovettsville. I've been in Loudoun County the past 8 years. I come here as a concerned citizen. As we know, this is about data centers. Data centers use, as of 2023, in Loudoun County alone, approximately 9 million gallons of water. My report shows it's about 5%. This was 2 years ago. Tonight I learned that in Loudoun County alone, data centers used 10% of the potable water in Loudoun County. This is astounding and concerning to me. In addition to this, the EPA and Virginia Department of Environmental Quality only requires potable water use to be reported. Given that companies are only required to report potable water, totals are significantly higher than the numbers currently shown. Do the math. It's there. In addition to this, I understand, well, I'd like to take 10 additional seconds as a Lovettsville resident to say that I'm seeing this firsthand in Lovettsville, the effects of data centers causing transmission lines to be put through our backyards. I can tell you that 765 kilovolt lines are not being used to power the 2,700 residents in Lovettsville. But I'd love to hear the answers to the brief question I got to with water.
All right. Thank you.
If you can take some time.
So I'll go to you just in a second. And I want to say this one more again. I was not able to make that meeting because we had a meeting that night, but I knew that Mr. Kirshner was there, and he and I have talked since then, and we're still are still talking, and we've had more than one time in Loudoun County where we were able to affect where a transmission line's route was. So we've been successful in doing that more than once, and we're going to make every effort to do that again. And to the nice lady that said, "Don't make this political." This is not a political issue for me, and I don't think it's a political issue for Mr. Kirshner either. And I'm aware of the Valley North transmission line and the issues with that, and my commitment to you is we will do all that we can, not just what we can, we will do all that we can to ensure that route is not going to people's backyards. Now, I will hand it to Alton for the Loudoun water question.
Thank you very much for your question. So I just wanted to clarify, Loudoun Water provides our services for the eastern portion of the county, the unincorporated portions of the county. The western portions of the county are, as you probably know, supplied by groundwater wells. The 10% factor that's quoted is 10% of the current average day use of our system in eastern Loudoun. Our system is permitted for up to 90 million gallons per day, and the current average day use in total, all residents and data centers, is around 26 million gallons per day. So that 10% is a couple of million gallons out of that 26 total. So that's just kind of putting it into perspective as to where we are today. And I had mentioned earlier in my statements that our charge is sustainability of the resources that we supply from. So what we've done is developed the off-Potomac water banking system and the reclaimed water system, which is completely independent from the Potomac River as a resource. So,
do you have any concerns about how that will impact groundwater? It looks like that was, at least when I look into the 2019 groundwater
I'm going to let you ask that one question and then go to the next person. Because it's been okay. So his question was, do you have any concerns with how that might impact groundwater?
It's certainly something that we take to heart and that we are looking at and partnering with county departments on and starting to initiate additional studies for Western Loudoun.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Chairwoman Randall. I'm Vanessa Berganza, and I've been a Loudoun County resident for almost 30 years. I had 3 questions, and I wonder if you could answer as much as you're able, and I would welcome a chance to speak with you at your leisure about the remainder. So, first, legislatively, I wondered if there's been any attempt to propose state-level regulation that aims to regulate the distribution of data centers within the state of Virginia, whether from Loudoun County or any other corner. 2, I wondered relatedly if you can speak to the challenges of that kind of regulation. You spoke a bit about Loudoun County's proximity to the federal government. I wonder if there are other kinds of challenges to that regulation across the state. And then third, just separately, you say that the state legislature has declined to extend the authority to the county to reject data center development based on power availability. And I wonder about that authority on other grounds, whether it's water consumption jumps to mind, or even imperilment of federally protected habitats. So that's my last question.
Thank you. And we can actually have a further talk. I'm happy to give you a call. So legislative question. So when we ask the state for the authority to make decisions based on power, we were asking for more legislative leeway. And so in my head, the restriction was them not offering that to us. The restriction was them telling us we cannot have the power, have the authority to make decisions based on power. And so do they restrict us? Yes, they do. Not allowing moratoriums means that we are restricted in what we can and cannot do. So yes, the water for Loudoun, because we have Loudoun Water, is a separate issue, and they are their own authority. They have bonding capabilities. They are their own authorities. What was your last question? I'm sorry.
Sorry, that was the last one. The first one was if there's been any attempt to draft state-level legislation that regulates the distribution of data centers across the state.
So there's been no state-level regulation to take away our, like West Virginia did. There's been no state regulation to say we won't cite them here, or we can't cite them here. That has not happened. In not allowing us to do things like moratoriums of water, that has limited what we have authority over. But there has been no effort right now to take away land use control. Now, I will say this, that their last General Assembly term, we did lose some land use control when it came to where housing can be built. And that's a whole lot longer another town hall. And again, if I have a favor from people, it is the General Assembly can feel very far away. They're in Richmond. They meet either 45 days a year or 60 days a year. Then they go back for their special meetings. You don't see their unlike a county board, when we put out our agenda, every single time we come to this day, there's an agenda that goes out not once but twice. So you know what agenda is coming out for us when we come to this board. That's not the General Assembly. And so things happen in the General Assembly that are not always known. And so I absolutely can understand why the General Assembly is almost a little bit out of sight, out of mind. But because we are dealing real state, what they are doing down there or don't allow us to do really makes a difference. And so when we do our legislative program and we put that out and we talk about it, truthfully, listen, I'll get a bus and drive it down there, because I really do think that having more constituents speak to General Assembly members would be really, really helpful. Board members, we're right here. Right, we're accessible. We're here. We have 1 month a year off. They meet 1 month a year, right? So we're here all the time, and it just makes us more those people. I get that, but But when we cannot do things because the General Assembly says we cannot do things, it can be very, very frustrating. And when they force us to do things like the housing bill, that can also be very, very frustrating. So that, one thing I'm learning tonight is to do these more, right? To do this more. But if you give your number, I will be happy to talk to you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Next up, we have Colleen Gillis, followed by Dan Golding, followed by Chris Tandy.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Colleen Gillis. I am a proud 25-year resident of Loudoun County. Raised 2 daughters here. One is going off to college. I'm going to cry. I'm proud to live in Loudoun, and I'm proud that we're the leader in data centers. Like, truly, I get that question when I travel. People are like, oh, you live in Loudoun? What's it like? I'm proud that I live in a county with data centers. I also, a gentleman earlier this evening, referenced One Loudoun. I've been around long enough to remember when One Loudoun was a sod farm, and I worked on the rezoning of it. We had meetings just like this for One Loudoun. People came out, they were angry. Supervisor Lori Waters had a lot of town halls about that. People did not want One Loudoun to happen. But in the connection with that approval, there was a whole lot of proffers that were given. And I work with a number of data center companies in this county, and they're always asking, how do I make the community better? Very much like One Loudoun did. How do I make this community better? What does the community need? And so tonight, I just want to remind folks that we can easily focus on the negatives and the things that we don't like, but partnering with the data centers can make and continue to ensure that Loudoun is the #1 place in this world to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Chair Randall, my name is Dan Golding, and I'm a longtime Loudoun County resident. Like thousands of our neighbors, I work in the data center industry. Our educational system was strained and overcrowded. Our schools were old, and we didn't pay our teachers enough. We had permitted thousands of residential units and no way to pay for school upgrades. Loudoun was in big trouble. Now we get $1 billion a year from this industry every year. They pay for road upgrades when VDOT ignores us. They pay for the best school system in the state. Data centers have no health impacts on our residents per the VDOE, and neither do the transmission lines. Many of our citizens have been subjected to a massive amount of anti-data center propaganda paid for by dark money and anonymous donors. Some have taken a stance in direct opposition to school funding, paying teachers more, and good jobs, union and non-union. I will note the vast majority of opponents are not blue collar and look down on trades and technician jobs, even ones with 6-figure pay. On a more conciliatory note, as a practicing data center engineer with 30 years of experience, I'm happy to answer any technical questions people have about the topic over coffee or after the meeting. Okay. Thank you, Chair Randall.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have Chris Tandy, followed by Jason Mello, followed by Shane Crow.
Good evening, Mr. Tandy.
Good evening, Chair Randall. Speaking only for myself tonight, a few points, then a couple questions. The current situation strikes me as a tragically familiar example of industry internalizing profits and externalizing risk. I see little evidence that data center developers give a damn about people in Loudoun. If they did, they never would have been using Tier 2 generators, and they never would have put their facilities near homes, schools, houses of worship, etc. DEQ has permitted 500 tons per year of annual emissions of PM2.5, which causes heart disease, lung disease, cognitive decline, adverse birth impacts, and premature death, just from data centers, just in Loudoun. I have more, but I'll get to questions. First of all, would you support in phase 2 of the comp plan and zoning rewrite prohibiting fossil fuel-based generation for non-emergency use? And second, could the Environmental Commission be tasked on weighing in on development proposals the same way the Planning Commission does? Thank you.
Yes and yes. Yes and yes. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tandy. And of course, we do talk, so we can talk again.
Next up, we have Jason Mello, followed by Shane Crow, followed by Ramona Bell.
Good evening, sir.
Chair, thank you so much. My name is Jason Mello. I first moved to Ashburn in 2003. I was stationed here, then came back in 2013. I retired after 23 years in the Air Force as a colonel. When I first moved here, did not realize that Ashburn would have 45 data centers within a 2-mile radius of Ashburn Village. One of the things, what I believe is far too long, residents have lived on this, but not really had the opportunity where it's just gone unchecked. And I think you mentioned that throughout some of your comments. It's the nonstop industrial noise and some of the other issues. And if I can just play this here. if I can play, so I apologize. It's not playing right now, but I'll send this. I actually sent you an email with it. But the loud noise is the real issue. So I can tell you where I live, we have the issue. I am also on the board of directors for Ashburn Village. We represent 15,000, 20,000 people. We had over 300 people in person at our town hall data center meeting. And then we also had 200 people online. I can tell you, I wish I had your position now, Chair, because I can tell you we had a very anti-data center. And it's not just because people are upset. I'm pro-business, I'm pro-capitalist, but what we need to do is really address the issue with sound. And I've sent an email to you and the entire board, so there's 3 basically plans in there that I want to just highlight. But what we need to do, my question is, for the noise specifically, how can we move things quicker through the process to get the noise abatement done? Because I can tell you right now, 24/7, I know, 24/7, I'm listening to noise.
Okay, so first of all, thank you. Secondly, I did talk to Ms. Glass right after your meeting. I mean, like literally on her way home, and so I was aware of your meeting. I will say, there are times, and it can be very, I'm sure, frustrating for the community and frustrating for everybody that information goes out that is just not. There is not even a pre-application in for that. There is no that data center, and well, I don't want to even call it a data center because Mr. Rogers can talk about this. There is no. That's not a thing.
Yeah, no, I'm not here to speak on behalf of the village on that at all.
And I know, I'm only saying that because so often, you know, who was it that says? I think he says a lie will go around the world faster than the truth can get out the starting blocks. That's exactly what happened on that one. So it's an issue. And Mr. Rogers, if you want to speak on that. We have learned a lot about noise from the Vantage data center, obviously, and I don't think I'm going to have any issue saying the word Vantage because everyone knows it's the Vantage data center. I talked about that earlier. You know, it is to the question Mr. Tandy just asked. Mr. Tandy just asked a question, would I support having generators not running unless it's an emergency? And that is why I said yes. With the Vantage Data Center, they're using gas-powered turbines to run their data centers every single day because they're not connected to the grid, but it's not an emergency. And so one of the things we need to do is is have that discussion with the state government as when can gas-powered turbines even run at all, because that is the noise you are hearing. And when I speak of quality of life, that's a quality of life issue.
Ma'am, I'll have to disagree with you because it's actually the HVAC systems that are the real issue. It's the chillers. There's over 200, and please look into that because that's the big issue. I hear from residents all the time. I've been up to the data centers, talked to Supervisor Glass. It's the nonstop humming of the HVAC because they don't have sound abatement parapins.
Okay. Well,
I've even talked with.
I'm going to stop you because your time really is up.
I appreciate it.
We actually have dealt with we do know how to deal with those because we've done them before.
Yeah.
We did that at the Regency.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to talk to anyone on your
staff. All right, thank you. Mr. Crow, are we going to talk about ranked choice voting?
Not tonight.
Okay. Hi, Mr. Crow.
Good evening, Chair Randall. As always, my name is Shane Crow from the Algonquian District. I have listened astutely to the town hall and the presentation. I thank you very much. And I must say, Chair, I empathize with you being between a rock and a hard place because I know in my gut, data centers themselves bring challenges. They also bring benefits. And it happens to be that I'm a contractor with Powered by Facts, a statewide nonprofit organization that, among many things, is unafraid to advocate and support for data centers. But with that said, I'm not speaking on behalf of them for today because for the rest of my time, I think I'd like to articulate an address to the elephant in the room, which is I think we need to renegotiate the Dillon's rule here in Virginia. Your hands are tied. There are things you want to do, but you can't. I think we need to be talking with our lawmakers in the General Assembly and renegotiate the social contract between localities and the state so that you can do more to help serve the people you were elected to sworn.
You will have no argument for me there. None at all. Thank you, Mr. Crow. I have some numbers I can give you, and you can make some phone calls. You will have no argument from me there. I do appreciate you. Thank you. The next up.
Next up, we have Ramona Bell, followed by John Brundage, followed by Carol Estecchi.
Miss Bell? Ramona Bell, are you here? Ramona Bell. Okay, John Brundage. And then Carol Estecchi. Is that right? Okay. Okay. Good evening, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Randall. I'm John Brundage. I live in Old Town Ashburn. I see a lot of blue T-shirts here saying that we support data centers.
So you have to talk to me. You have to talk to me.
Right. When they're in the right place. Well, this is a public forum. When they're in the right place. What does this mean when they're in the right place? Does it mean right next to their houses? I think not. I found it interesting that one of the advocates for the data centers lives in Waterford, very far away from the data centers. I live in Old Town Ashburn. If I go down to Waxpool Road, in the old days, there was one thing when we saw the two-story ones with the berms and the stuff and the plants. Now you go down 1757 golf course, what used to be a nice driving range. Now you look over and you have these behemoths that are there. Now, I'm here for a very personal reason because I very much want to stop the Ashburn Commons proposal that's at the intersection of Route 7 and Ashburn Road. One patch of green that's there next to housing, next to shopping, next to a school and an academy and a church, and they want to put 3 centers and a substation right there. So for me, wherever I go now, I'm going to go past these ugly units. You talk about quality of lights, they're also ugly. So I know my time is up, but I have one more question.
Intersection of what and what? Say that again.
Intersection of Ashburn Village Boulevard and Route 7.
Yeah, that's the one we're talking about, right? That's not. If you think about the same one behind where the Harris Teeter is and the that's not real.
Well, BF Saul came to give it.
That is not real. We don't even have a pre-app on that. Mr. Largess, I'm going to let you take that, please.
Yes, there's been questions about whether or not they could build a data center there. There's no by right or legislative application before the county. Right now, there's only been a request from the developer that we have answered in the negative.
Well, praise the Lord on that. But finally, one more question.
And speaking, and your time is up, sir, but I will answer your question. You are correct that, and I've said it here, and I've said the discussion about data centers, besides the noise, is siting. Where do they belong? And there are some places they belong. There are some places they do not, for many reasons. Mostly going back to the zoning I talked about earlier. They have been placed by housing, and they shouldn't. But we actually have changed, and they're all special exception now. And I just do not believe that this board would. I can tell you that data center you're talking about, that would be an absolutely incorrect location for a data center.
Okay, I know my time's up, but one question that's not asked.
Actually,
what's going to happen when they become obsolete?
Sir, your time is up. So
what's going to happen when they become obsolete?
Your time is up. You have a seat, and I'll answer you.
Okay.
Okay. So I get this question a lot, and I will say this: data centers are a big building. It just is, when we moved to Loudoun County in 1993. When we moved to Loudoun County on the corner of Waxpool and Route 7, there wasn't that flyover and all that stuff. There was a Walmart there. A long time ago, there was a Walmart where that now Wegman sits. And I remember when they said they're going to redo that area, and I thought, well, what are they going to do with that Walmart? It came down in a day. Literally, it came down in a day because it's just a big square building. Data centers are what's in the data center. The servers that are the internet are in the data centers. Whenever we get to a place, and I have no idea when that will be in the far future, I don't imagine I'll be here anymore, when data centers are no longer viable, these buildings that they're in come down. It's just that simple. They can come down. And so I don't know when that will be, because there's no, it doesn't look like there's any shortage of the need for data. And now we have this whole AI that's completely new, and then we have all the military stuff. So I have no idea how long we're going to we being the earth, not Loudoun, build data centers, but they are big boxes. They are big box buildings. They come down. Did that answer your question?
Next, we have Carol Estecki, followed by Dennis Bors, followed by Stacy Westman.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. So we have lived in Loudoun County in Sterling for 42 years, just north of the W&OD Trail, almost to Herndon. And I don't know, maybe about 9 years ago, at nighttime, I call the sheriff's office because I'm like, are you guys flying a plane and looking for somebody on the bike trail? No, it was data center noise. And the people south of the trail, they could very well have been one of the pictures that you showed, that picture you showed. And I don't know how they stand it sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's fine, and when it's not, it's not.
I understand.
And then the other thing is electrical bills. This year, our bills have gone up probably 50%, but in the coldest month of the year, they would double what it was last year. And not everybody can afford that.
I understand.
The other thing I'm wondering, and I don't have anything but my own wondering head, so I don't know, but recently I have seen on my weather app air quality alerts that only apply to eastern Loudoun. And the general DC area looks fine. I don't have any explanation to that. I don't know that it's related to what we're talking about tonight, but it's something that I just wondered.
Thank you. I may have to call the Jay's Wintry Mix guy because I have no idea about the air quality. I have not seen that. And I follow air quality really, really closely because I have really bad allergies, so I haven't seen that. I do hear, I want you, ma'am, and everyone else to know, we as a board, and I will say most especially my colleague, Mr. Saines, we understand the noise issue. We understand that is an issue. Both the turbines, the HVAC systems, and there are some mitigation things that can be done, and what would be helpful if you can be even more specific about where they are or maybe what they are, to know that would be even more helpful. But I absolutely hear you about the HVAC, about the noise. Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Boers, and I'm the owner of a sustainable egg farm, Farm the Golden Yolk in Lovettsville, which will probably be partially flattened by bulldozers as part of the Valley North Link proposal, given it goes straight through it. That's my side job. I'm also a senior development impact specialist for a large development bank. And speaking on my own account, but coming from a depth in private sector experience. Chair Randall and members of the board, you approved or at times had to sit by and just view the data center growth. And now rural landowners are being asked to absorb the consequences through projects like the Valley North Link. The county should rapidly study and publicly disclose the full infrastructure burden of data center development at those in the pipeline and up for approval, and should require the industry responsible for the electricity growth to pay for undergrounding, mitigation measures, property impacts and long-term damage, instead of shifting those costs onto residents and farmers. Chair and members of the board, what will you do for rural homeowners, landowners and for farmers providing food for Loudoun and beyond?
Thank you, sir. The county cannot demand that things are undergrounded. There are some places that undergrounding, just because of the granite under, is hard to do. But when I tell you that, and I hope they don't mind that I say their names, I hope they don't mind. I have sat with Brian Turner and Woody Turner and talked about this issue to try to get undergrounding. We, Loudoun County, have been probably the county most involved with the SEC, taking them to court, and Mr. Rogers wants to talk about that, having legal cases, trying to, for lack of a better word, force undergrounding, and for it not to be paid for by us. it is not something that is I won't say it's not possible, because of course it's possible. It's not something that we're getting anywhere with in our efforts to get somewhere of undergrounding. I want you, Mr. Rogers, to talk, and then we'll come back and show you one more thing. Mr. Rogers.
Yes, we participate in cases before PJM and the State Corporation Commission, including Valley Link, where we file a notice of participation in the case. We work with the community, and one of the things that the chair mentioned is how we first assemble a group that's going to work together throughout the case. We did that on Aspen to Golden and Mars to Golden. We did that on the Route 50 Power Lines case, the Mooresville to Wishing Star, and several others. And Valley Link, by the way, is an interstate type project. So it's being pushed not just by PJM, which is the 14-state cooperative, it's also being pushed by FERC. So we're looking at the different options that come along. What we've noticed is that we get to work with the utility providers up front and often get to assist in the routing of those lines. They want our support. They would rather have us on their side than be fighting us. So that's probably our first step in working with them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to show you one more thing, and I had a feeling that I was going to get questions about not so much because you asked me about farmland, but just about land and how much FAR is our square footage is a data center versus square footage that is our park system and things like that. So I actually, just in case this type of question came up, put one more slide together. Courtney, we go to that next slide, please. Oh, it's so small. I'm sorry. But I'll send this out. You guys cannot hear me. So we actually measure our farms in acreages and not square footage. But if you could see that I asked them to change it to square footage just so you can compare how much parkland that Loudoun has, that Nova Parks Authority has, and the Nova Parks' current parks only has versus data centers. And because I do think that there is some belief that there is more data center square footage than in Loudoun than there is data center, than there is parkland. And as you can see, that's nowhere near, not even close, not even close. And so I did want to, and that doesn't count state parks. That doesn't include state parks. And so we have people on our board who I say who are huge environmentalists. And actually, I'm a huge environmentalist. I just don't really want to go outside, but I want the outside to be there for other people to go outside in it. But the amount of time and effort we put into making sure that we have adequate parkland through Nova Parks Authority and through local parks is enormous. I believe Mr. Kirshner, myself, Mr. Rogers, all of us are very aware of the issue in Western Loudoun County as far as transmission lines, aware of not only your farms, but we're aware that that's your homes. And we're aware that when I say that's your homes, I am very aware that that's where you brought your babies home when they were born. That's where you celebrate your anniversaries. That's where the people you love live. That's where you have worked to put that down payment on that 7 acres to live there. So it doesn't get by me that your home is your largest investment in your life. Many people are living in what will be their retirement, and that's the equity in their homes. It is not lost on me and not lost on us when you all say, this is coming through my backyard, this is near my home. It's not lost on me that that's not just some brick and mortar structure, but that is your life in that home. That's not lost on us. And that's why we will work on this issue. Next question, next person.
Next up, we have Stacy Westman, followed by William Brown, followed by Miriam Wardak.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, and thank you all for listening. First and foremost, I'm a 30-year cybersecurity and AI technology strategist. I use AI daily. I understand data centers. I've helped build them. I've helped, take them down.
Bring your mic a little closer to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you hear the first part?
Yes.
Okay. However, most data center development, the associated land, power, water demands are fundamentally a private industry-based need. When we went to Valley Link's open house in Lovettsville, that was what we were told, was they had identified a need, but it's a private industry need that is basically, at its most basic, privatizing their profits and socializing the costs and pushing these onto local communities. If Valley Link comes through my backyard, which is part of their plan, it's a 200-foot easement. I still pay taxes on that land, but I can't use it the same way because they're going to build a road in order to be able to maintain it. This is a problem. We're losing livelihood. We're losing property value. And, you know, it's impacting our retirement. It's impacting livelihood. It's impacting culture and resources. I live in a town, Lovettsville, where we just got a developer proposal to annex land, 27 acres, and that annexation is estimated to increase the water consumption by 41% if they put their 179,000 square foot, this is a Walmart supercenter, flex industrial building in there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, that Walmart supercenter doesn't belong in Lovettsville. Mayor Hornberger called me probably 2 days after that came up, and we had this conversation. So we are, you know, I keep saying we are aware, and that sounds empty. That sounds empty. So let me say it better. I am concerned. I understand why you are concerned. I do not want this for your life. I do not want this for your home. And we are going to fight some of these things. We are going to do all that we can to fight these things. And I just need to say that clearer than I have been saying it.
Well, and my last part is, how do we, who aren't actually in town limits, who fall into the county, so we're in that gray zone, volunteer and participate in the committees that you have, where there isn't a whole lot of...
I think you're doing it right now.
Okay.
I think you're doing it right now. I think you got, and I think that the meeting you had was doing it. I don't, as Mr. Kirshner said, there have been times when we've gotten transmission lines moved or gotten to another place. So although sometimes a Dominion can feel like this big behemoth that never listens to anybody and nothing can ever change, that's not true. We've actually in Loudoun County changed things before. It happened in it was a Dulles district. Was it the Dulles district?
It did. It also happened with Aspen to Golden.
That's right.
It happened with Mars to Golden.
Right.
The routing is a little bit easier for us. Undergrounding is the technological technology and actually the feasibility from a monetary standpoint and timing standpoint of doing it. So it's just a lot more difficult for undergrounding, but routing we've been very successful working with the utilities.
So I think the continued voices, I think that the meeting you all were at where so many people showed up was a very powerful meeting, and I think that's what we keep doing that.
So how do experts in cybersecurity or SCADA or operational technology participate in meetings where that voice isn't being heard right now? Because I can't find any evidence of you guys taking that kind of expertise and using it as part of the assessments and evaluation that gets back up to General Assembly.
So your time is way up. I don't know that no. I don't know that I understand your question. Can you go over here and give your name? Because I can't answer a question. I don't know that I understand your question. So if you can leave your name over here.
Did you guys?
And Madam Chair, I should say that the Marl line, which was going through that area, I mean, that was one of the ones that we worked with First Energy and NextEra and bypassed that area now. I mean, so it's possible. I will say, electricity, there's a tremendous demand for electricity. PJM has authorized projects to bring electricity to Northern Virginia and Maryland, and so there are going to be these high voltage power lines. It's a question of where they're going to go.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. If you want to leave your information over here, thank you. That'd be great. Good evening, sir.
Hi. Thank you for your presentation and information you provided about the data center issue. One thing I noticed, and this is just anecdotally, I think most of the people here are here because of their concerns and worries about data centers out in the overflow room. And so I'm wondering if there's maybe a way you can have a hearing, and this, I know you want this for your own feedback as well, we can have a hearing from those who are opposed to data centers, and then maybe separate hearing for those who are pro-data centers. And I say that because when people come up here, and God bless them, I know there's pros and cons, but people are just going nuts when you get the pro-data center people. They feel like there's, you know, their time is being wasted. And I've just seen people leaving because they just feel like too much time is being wasted from people that are pro-data center. And, you know, so that's an issue. My other thing is a question about, I'm in the Washington University area.
Yes, sir.
At Loudoun and Route 7.
Yes, sir.
We heard about something happening in that
Yes, sir.
university selling property.
Yes, sir.
And I want to know what's going on with
Sure,
what's going to
sure,
happen
sure.
there with
Yes,
that
sir.
property.
Yes. Well, first of all, let me answer your, first of all, thank you, sir, and let me answer your first question. Basically, this is the hearing. Basically, this is a town hall like this is where we do hear people, and I understand that some people who might be, I don't know if I even like the term pro or anti, but some people who might be in support of the industry, that might be upsetting for people who are not in support of the industry, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
But when we have these public meetings, it is important that I hear everyone's voices.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
And so
You
that's
could
what I'm,
maybe
yeah.
do that in separate.
Well, except with respect, sir, I think it's actually not bad for each other to hear each other's side too. I think it's okay for everyone to hear everyone's opinions and everyone's voices. And so, as long as, and this has been a very, very cordial and respectful room, as long as those rooms are cordial and respectful, I actually kind of like when people, because I think it's been a pretty even split. I guess in the overflow room it's not. I hear that,
Yeah.
but I actually like when that happens and people can hear each other. So, but this is what this is, and it's why I said I should have done it before, and it's why we will either do it again virtually or some other way, because the need is there, both to talk about the issue, to talk about the misinformation, but also to hear all kind of issues. And like I said, the lady just asked a question that I didn't even quite understand, which means, clearly all of us have more to learn, but it also lets me know where to put my ear. And it's interesting, one of the things I've heard the most tonight is about noise. And so, when we talk about where we put our efforts, it's, I have found that noise is one of the easiest things to mitigate, to be honest. And so to do that. To your question about the data center at the George Washington campus, I would tell you that my colleague from the Algonquian district and county staff tried to have meetings with George Washington for weeks, and George Washington just put them off. And then one day we found out with everybody else that was sold to a data center. We were and we are very upset about that. There is no data center on that side of Route 7 at all. And just siting wise, it is the exact wrong place for a data center. It is near homes, and we are. To say we are not happy with the fact that the university sold that to a data center would be like saying that the Atlantic Ocean is a pond. And Mr. Rogers, do you want to talk about some of the efforts right now for that particular effort?
There's a study that has been commissioned by the Board of Supervisors to say if that property were to go data center, what would be the impacts to the surrounding development, high voltage transmission lines, substations that would come in. So in the event that happened, and we can tell you right now, there is no application to put a data center there.
There's no application.
The board is looking at that and will report back to the community so that you will have that.
But the board will also fight that. And it is so important to know.
Those areas, is that an area that you say is administrative versus?
That is by right, but there's no application in there yet. So it can be.
It's a very strange development, whether that's by right or legislative. Right now, there's a Route 28 tax district which locks that property into a very old ordinance. That tax district will be paid off as of December 5th, the last tax payment. Then we have to get the bond payoffs and actually make the payoff, which probably wouldn't happen until like around June of 27. When the tax district goes away, this board has already initiated a zoning change which would bring that property up to the current development standards in the zoning ordinance. And Madam Chair, if I could speak to one more thing. This is a limited public forum that's run by a government entity. We're covered where we have to follow the First Amendment. We can put time, place, and manner restrictions, but we cannot restrict content. So whether someone wanted to come here and either support data centers or oppose them, that would have to be done at any limited public forum. And as a government entity, we would not be able to restrict that speech.
Okay.
But to your question about that piece of property, we already oppose that, and I think it's really important. We've had two examples tonight where there's not even an application, there's not even a pre-application, and the community is understandably concerned, and I am concerned too, but also believing things that are not in place. And so both in Ashburn and this area, there's not even a pre-application for that yet. And I think it's important to say that that we're not dealing with even anything yet on those.
But it's nothing that can be done, basically, is what you...
Oh no, there's something that can be done, and we're doing it now. But there's nothing that's been filed yet.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And
thank you.
Just the quietest. At night I sleep.
Sir, your time's up. I'm sorry.
Next
Good evening, ma'am.
Miriam Wardak, followed by Gregory Pirio, followed by Yardley Alberachin.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Chair Randall. Thank you so much for hearing us. Appreciate that opportunity. You said that it is really easy to mitigate issues related to noise.
It's the easiest thing we can probably do.
It's the easiest thing that we can do. You asked also for areas where we are suffering most. Cameron Chase is one area. We would venture to say that, I would venture to say on behalf of our neighbors that if you wish to have a pilot program, feel free to use us, and we would be happy to support you as much as we can. The other thing that I'm really concerned about is the long-term impact of these data centers that we don't even know about. And I want to make sure that we understand truly what the impact is before we add more concentration of these data centers in our near vicinity to our homes where our children are being raised. The third item that I really would like for you to consider is the impact of potential risk. If we have a vast majority of data flowing through Loudoun County, isn't it to our benefit to actually diversify that risk and not have all the data flowing through us, be it through impact on catastrophic risk or be it bad actors? So it's to the benefit of the data centers to find some other places to go and help us out as well as neighbors.
Yeah, one of the things I've actually, when I came into the board in 16, and I was, I will say, when I came to the board in 16, I was one of the voices that really tried to put some limits around this, and the voices to join me were Karan Sains from the Sterling District and a man named Ron Meyer, who was then from the Broad Run District, and talking about not being political, two separate political parties. And it wasn't even stopping. It was like, how do we put some limits around these? How do we put design standards on them? How do we, and we were, unfortunately, Mr. Myers and Mr. Sains and I were not successful with that board in 2016 in doing that. But one of the things I used to always say is that, one, we should diversify our economy more. Even if they provide what they provide, we want to diversify that more. I also, I don't know what we don't know yet, and I think you are correct that it is important to look at even possible harms, because it's impossible to say this will be a harm or this will be a harm, this will be a harm, but it's not impossible to use common sense and say what's possibly could be there. Let me say one more time, though, having said that most of the data centers that are near homes were made by right office use in 2000. And so that's why you see them near homes right now. It is not because, not just this board, but any board voted for most of those data centers near homes. So, all right.
If I could also ask, please, to update your data on home prices because it is based on 10 years?
No, it's not. It's over the past 10
10
years.
years, yes.
So
That's
it's
what
not.
I mean.
It's not. No. I got my data from Mr. Wirtz. It's current data that has been over. It's not 10 years old.
No.
It's over the past 10 years. It's very current.
No, I know. I would love to see a shorter period of time because
I see what you're saying.
Ashburn
Okay.
has
All right. I got you.
developed a reputation
Okay. I got you.
as a
All right.
hotbed for
You're
data
saying you want to see
centers.
what happened over the past 5 years.
I would like to see the last
I got
maybe
you. All right.
2 years, two and a half years.
I understand. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, hi, I'm Greg Purio. I live in Sterling. My house front door is about 150 yards from Vantage 2, and you know about the noise there, and it's been going on for a year and a half because of the gas turbine engines. Children can't have trouble sleeping at night. The sound penetrates our home. If you're outdoors very long, you get headaches from it. Sometimes people inside get headaches. The county has done an abysmal job of trying to enforce the regulations on it. I talked to an acoustical expert, and from what I've heard from the zoning people about enforcing the zoning law, that there are other ways of doing it that will stand in court, and it's not being considered. In addition, three of myself and two of our neighbors, we went to the county magistrate's office because it's a misdemeanor for sound to be penetrating into your home. And we went there and they wouldn't listen to us, the magistrate. He said, he denied our complaint. He said, you might not like data centers, but they're not persons, so we can't do it. And I said, no, a corporation is a person under constitutional law, and I've since then found out under a Virginia statute. So they're not even enforcing the law and saying that they can't do it. So that's a problem. But it's not only the noise that's the problem, it's also the air pollution.
Yeah.
And people are getting sick. Children are having respiratory problems that they didn't have before. People are getting asthma they didn't have before. Myself and neighbors down the street.
Sir, I'm going to stop you because you guys, I'm going to wrap you up here. But
just let me say, dry eye is another. I've had to go twice to the emergency room because of it. And you voted to put that data, allow that data center.
Actually, sir, I did not vote to put that data center there. I did not vote.
I thought you did.
I did not. But you know what? The board did.
The board did. Didn't vote
I didn't, but the board did. And I'm a member. I did. That wasn't a vote I took. But there have been data center votes that I have taken and I've regretted. That's just that I didn't happen to vote for that one.
Okay, that's good to know.
Well, no, because the board did. And it's my memory, and I could be incorrect, that there was a lot of community outreach for that data center to be built, and the community.
That's not true.
Okay, then maybe I have that wrong. I will check.
I'll tell you about the community meeting and the lies we heard.
Well, I do think that's true. I do think the data center was not honest at those community meetings, and that was not found out till later. But during that time, the community members, there were community meetings. We understand that Vantage has been one of the big, the Vantage data center is getting national attention because of the noise and because all the consequences from the noise. If there is something legally we could be doing that we're not, I would welcome a conversation with myself, Supervisor Saines, and Mr. Rogers to find out what we can legally be doing, because it's my understanding that we have tried every legal effort that we know. So if there is some legal aspect or some legal road that we can walk down to get those gas turbines turned off, because as Mr. Tandy said, there's no emergency happening right now, then I will want to know that. And if you do know that, sir, please give your number to actually, I have your number, but please let my staff know, and we will sit down with you and the community and have a discussion of what we're not doing, what legal options we're not taking, if there is some to be taken.
And the other thing is your presentation on property values. Believe you, nobody wants to go and live in my street.
I understand,
because of the air pollution and because of the sound pollution. And there was
Sir, your time. I got to stop you. Your time's up. But we will have we can have this discussion. And again, if there's something legally we should be doing, we will do it. But sir, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you with respect. I'm going to stop you. I have time for probably 2 more speakers before I need to have some wrap-up words, and then everyone could go find the score of the game. Hi, and welcome.
Hi. So I have 2 questions I'm going to ask sequentially. First, the board has some control over noise ordinance. Can you make a plan to introduce new ordinances that focus on low-frequency noise that comes from data centers versus the currently high-frequency weighted decibel limits? Question 2, I didn't expect to ask today about participatory democracy. Could you promise that this is the last data center town hall where the doors are closed and where there's no speakers, nor visuals, nor recordings for when your overflow is full? Despite there being 2 TVs out in that hallway, and asking if I could connect an HDMI cable to watch and hear you speak with other fellow disgruntled community members who were not wearing blue shirts, I was told no by some government staff. So please make sure you have the space and a plan to make sure you can hear every voice in the community when they go through the pain of showing up, rather than discouraging them. Because not everyone else has the capacity to sit this long. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
With respect, this was a first come, first serve town hall. So whoever got in here had a seat. It was a first come, first serve. Town halls are not the same thing as board meetings or like a state of the county. I can use my Facebook Live page, and that's where I am putting this out on. But there are some things we can do when it's a board meeting that we don't do when it's a town hall. And so I think what maybe is a better idea is for me to, because I do want to do this again, is to just do the whole thing virtually. So then it just opens it up. No?
I think a gymnasium or a stadium.
Or maybe an auditorium.
Something larger.
Something larger. The boardroom is easier for a lot of reasons, but you're saying you want more people to be able to participate.
Yeah, to go over the gentleman's comments, right? He wanted people to participate in the community.
I understand.
So we shouldn't be.
But this was a first. As people walked into the building, they could walk into this room until the room was full.
I understand.
So it wasn't no one.
But next time.
Next time, but no one got preferential treatment in this room. That is all I'm saying to you. But I hear you for next time.
I understand.
And the fact that we have
people with blue shirts were very organized.
Okay, I didn't organize them.
I know. But I'm just saying, for next time, could you promise that?
I can't promise that. And the fact that we have this much participation and concern is a message.
Thank you.
So thank you.
And the question I came here with, could I also have an answer to that?
The low frequency noise
Madam Chair.
Ordinance. Yes, sir.
I could take that if you like.
Sure.
Thank you for the question. I will say that the Board of Supervisors has directed staff over a year ago to commence a 2-phase study on data centers, its uses, and to include in phase 2 is an analysis around sound. So our current ordinance stipulates a maximum sound level of 55 decibels using what's referred to as the A scale. But I think the noise that you're referring to is, and many speakers have referred to, as more of a continuous hum noise. And that's typically best measured on what's called a C scale. But our regulations currently do not include that. Prince William County recently expended over $3 million with some audible engineering companies to develop a standard. It's recently been adopted. We are looking very closely at that. We're talking with their staff, and we have our own consultants on under contract helping us to look at those as a potential ordinance change that would be able to allow us to regulate those tonal scales or tonal noise levels.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's almost 9:30. We're going to do one more speaker and one more question or whatever, and then I'm going to have some wrap-up comments, and then I have some wrap-up comments. The next speaker
The next speaker is Michelle Carter.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hi. So I've been living in Loudoun County for over 20 years, everywhere from Percival to Ashburn to Sterling. Watching these data centers being built has been the saddest part of my 20 years here. I live in Belmont. We're surrounded by massive structures that are being constructed, in my opinion, with no concern for the citizens living next door. We're talking about 5.33 gigawatts of data center power usage. That's tripled over the past 4 years. The heat and water harm is unstudied and unacknowledged, in my opinion. Just to give you a perspective, that amount of power is the same as running 24 space heaters 24/7 in every house in Loudoun. So it's even more concentrated than that, because data centers are in eastern Loudoun and are creating essentially an urban heat island. The water usage has tripled in 3 years and consumes 15% of Loudoun County's water, and there's no plan for that. Would our supervisors be okay putting a giant sound machine on your street that matches the constant sound and volume that we have to suffer through all the time, as the other gentleman spoke about? Your point about park acreage versus data center acreage, understandable, but I really feel like we're ruining our park system because of the data centers. All that overflow, the wildlife, it's really tremendous. And data centers put out about 30% of the heat in all of Loudoun County homes combined, and I just don't think that's studied.
Yeah. Thank you. So let me answer your question before I do closing comments. There's a reason we want to have the authority to say no based on power. There's a reason. And I appreciate Senator Srinivasan and Delegate J.J. Singh for carrying the legislation. It didn't even get out of committee. And so I have a colleague who talks about power all the time and has a white paper on power and done a lot of studying on power. I actually don't argue with your numbers at all. It is frustrating for me to talk about things that I have no control over. And again, we asked for it last year, we're asked for it next year, we're asked for it for the year after. The person who said, long-term consequences, I don't know what those long-term consequences are for that type of power use. And I do think that if the General Assembly is not going to give us permission to say no, then at the very least they can do that study for us, so we know. So we are aware. With respect, your water use numbers are a little higher than what we have from Loudoun Water, which is about 10%. But those are my answers. Thank you.
And it's frustrating for us to live in an environment where those are unstudied.
Yes.
And what the impacts
Yes.
of those could be on our children
Yes.
who are living here and we're raising in this community, and we
Yes.
all want to stay, but these massive structures are taking over. I grew up in New Jersey. I watched industrialization happen, and I watched people flee. And I really don't want that to happen to my state here that I've been living in for 21 years and plan to live in longer. Well, that was my hope, but now I'm really not sure about my future here.
Thank you. So, I've lived in Loudoun County for over 30 years now, and so I share so many of these concerns, and truthfully, I have so many of these concerns, and I say all the time, and I'm not just saying in the county chair of the county, I think it's the best county in the country. I love this county. I love this county. I think the people in this county, the greatness of the county is the goodness of the people. I love this county. How a county is built, how any area is built, is so very important. By right development in this instance has been a problem for us to control. Courtney, go back to the last. It is not true that we're not doing anything. it is true that enough hasn't been done and enough wasn't done for many, many years. I hear that. Whether I was here or not doesn't matter, because really we're a contiguous body. I don't actually do a lot of, I didn't vote for that one, I voted for this one. I don't do a lot of that because we're a board. And when a board votes. And if I lose a vote, then I needed to do more to convince my colleagues to vote another way. So there are a lot of data centers that I voted against that I wish did not pass. And I do wonder today, what could I have said so that they wouldn't have passed? The one that sticks in my claw the most is True North, and it always will. But that doesn't mean, even understanding, having lived here for over 30 years, all the issues that have been talked about today, all the concerns, the quality of life. I heard a lot today about the noise. We are definitely doing that. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't also make sure people know that there is no applications in Ashburn. There is no application in George Washington. There are some truths that need to be said. It also doesn't mean that I should just let people say that I could not disagree with my colleague more on her data center decision making and how she got there. I disagree with her vehemently, and we have those tough discussions on this dais. That doesn't mean I'm going to question her intentions, because I'm not going to question her intentions. I don't care if you put your thumb down, sir. I believe that she believes she's doing the right thing, even if I don't agree with her. And so there are some things that I'm going to stand on. And I'm standing on the fact that I think that we should do better and we could have done better. But I'm also standing on the fact that I'm not going to let things be said out there that also just are not true. And that we need to do, as the gentleman just said, these more often, in larger spaces, hear more voices, hear more stories, hear more concerns, hear more fears. Hear more, I think, hear each other more. And, you know, if there is, I won't say good news, but better news, is that we were able to put away the by right data center development or consideration, and now all data centers are special exception, which now does give the board control to say yes and no to where they don't belong, because it's a siting issue. To be quite honest, and I don't love this statement, we don't even have a whole lot of room for them anyway, so it's not going to be a lot more just because we've run out of space, to be honest. But there are places they don't belong, and we have the right to do that and the ability to do that. At the same time, they have lowered our taxes. And they have given to some of our nonprofits and things like that. And this is a complete double-edged sword. And if anyone believes that there's just one way to look at this, that's just not true. It's just not true. It's a double-edged sword, and one that we have bloodied up on both ends, to be quite honest. And that has been a problem. I hope the U.S. is winning the soccer game right now. They're not winning the soccer game? Okay. We will do this again. I thank you for coming. You didn't have to be here tonight. Thank you for being here.